Bueno, para continuar con nuestras jornadas, la siguiente ponencia está a cargo de María Paz Montes, estudiante de cuarto año del programa de licenciatura en Lengua y Literatura Inglesa de la Universidad de Chile, que en esta ocasión nos presentará Absorbing All Experiences to Myself and for These Songs, a Biographical Approach to Whitman's Poetics. Demos una cordial bienvenida a la compañera.
Okay, to start with, this was part of a larger work, and so I tried to reduce all that information and all my ideas to this, so I hope you understand. Okay. Well, Leaves of Grass was republished several times during Whitman's life. It was born and remained a work in progress because it reflected changing points of view and situations Whitman went through during his life. So in this presentation, I will analyze the persona poetica's voice and images from two books in Leaves of Grass under a biographical perspective. I'm going to have some song of myself as Whitman's basal poetics, since it was part of the original Leaves of Grass. The other two books are Calamus, added in the 1860 edition after a homoerotic debacle, and Drum Taps, added in the 1867 edition after the Great American War. Well, Song of Myself opens with a verse that establishes the persona poetica's mood. I celebrate myself and sing myself. When he says myself, not only includes his own being, but also surroundings and other beings, as it is implied in my tongue, every atom of my blood formed of this soul, this air. So what it is being prized is life itself. Indeed, he's fond of two types of landscapes throughout this book, the human and the natural ones. For instance, section 15 is a lengthy constellation of individualities, of moments and fragments that compose the American human landscape. The same accumulation of fragments is present in the natural landscapes, and it too goes through this process of fusion with everything around. So in section 21, the verse, I call to the earth and sea half held by the night, will be pouring the liquidity of the sea to the rest of the poem, and it will be transferred to the tree, to the pace of sunsets, to the moon, to the tide. Likewise, the persona will receive the influx of the sea, as it is stated in the verse, I am integral with you, I am too one of a face and of all faces. So just as the persona was one with people, he is also one with nature, and vice versa. On the other hand, these intersubjective experiences are in need of a voice, and the persona poetica, in all Song of Myself, seems to be developing a sense of his own role as a poet, which will culminate in the great American bard of of Drum Taps. So I will illustrate this idea by comparing two poems. On the one hand, in section 8, there is the persistent witness imagery marked by words like look, peering review, witness, notes, and finally, I come and I depart. While in section 6, the persona elucidates what position he can take in relation to phenomena. Oh, I perceive after all so many uttering tongues. I wish I could translate the hints about the dead young men and women. And then in section 13, absorbing all to myself and for this song. So I think that there is a growing consciousness on the fact that all the experience should be assumed by the persona, and for him to articulate this experience in poems. The image that best illustrates his newly acquired role as the weaver, his voice, is the idea of the weaver present in the last verse of section 15. So the weaver collects experiences, images from natural and human landscape, and mends the patches into an organic and synergic composition that accounts for the great American quilt. Now I'm going to refer to Calamus. The turning point that gave birth to Calamus was Whitman's homosexual disillusion. The plant Calamus, which is depicted there, is also known as sweet flag and got its name from the Greek myth of Calamus and Carpus. The name sweet flag alludes via metonymy to an America founded over comradeship as the one Carpus and Calamus enjoyed. But comradeship, because of Whitman's own homoerotic crisis, also acquires the meaning of manly homoerotic union. For instance, in the poem Whoever You're Holding Me Now in Hand, there is an accumulation of terms related in a broad sense to politics, like the words follower, candidate, standard. Then there is an accumulation of words related to religious faith, as novitiate and abandonment of old practices. And finally, there is an invitation to transcend in sexual union, but this time to a more concrete interlocutor, one who could fulfill Calamus' political agenda and Whitman's own failed love relationship. The result is a poem that at times resembles very much the Song of Songs in terms of the mystical common union of Jesus with Christians that takes place in the Eucharist, the token of Jesus' everlasting and renewed love and sacrifice. Accordingly, the comprehensive landscapes of Song of Myself are reduced to tokens because they have been given a more limited political meaning. This is the idea behind the poem A Leaf for Hand in Hand. The underlying question in this poem, in order to add to the political discussion, is how should human relationships be held? The leaf is presented as a token of each pair of joined hands, the hands of boatman, mechanic, and the procession. And the phrase, you natural persons, added to the evocation of the Mississippi River, with all what it means to Americans, advances the idea of unionship as the true order that human relations take over the American land. As an overall, while he was the poet of experience in Song of Myself, he will now sing. He will now sing the songs of manly attachment. An attachment meaning sexual union that bears political transcendence and vice versa. It was there, the manly attachment verse. Well, now I'll talk about drum taps that was born out of the American Civil War experience, where Whitman helped as a nurse. Being in touch with crude human reality and mortality gave his persona a more realistic idea of experience. So in first O Songs for a Prelude, again, the catalog technique of Song of Myself is found to describe, on the one hand, the people who engaged in the war, and on the other hand, the natural landscape, which now is that of warfare, as it is expressed in the words tent, hospital, churches, cannon, etc. It gives the poem back a bit of the Song of Myself's omnipresence and celebration, though it is not going to be the optimistic celebration of life as something indistinguishable from death. There is also the Calamus personalized addressee in the city of Manhattan, but this time, what was sexual union in the previous book will be turned into worshipping, since the city is fancied as Pallas Athenea, the Greek goddess of war and patron saint, or better, matron saint, of Athens. This worship is the reason why the persona poetica's tone in this poem, and by extension in all drum taps, is more directly appealing. His voice is still that of the bard, but in this poem will sing the deeds of his matron, and that mirrors the loudest voice combined with a respect and admiration. This does not suppose resigning the poet of manly attachment task, because the mystical common union of the Song of Songs, paralleled in Calamus, has just been given the body not of Jesus, but of Pallas Athenea. I now want to refer a bit more deeply to what I mean by loudest voice. So for doing this, I'm going to compare two poems, one in Song of Myself and the other in drum taps. In section 18 of Song of Myself, there is a verse that goes like, I beat and pound for the dead. That is substantially different from beat drums in the poem of the same name in Calamus. In the former poem and the one in Song of Myself, the persona is just explaining the sound, using the voice to account for it. In the later, he has turned his voice into the instrument. So when he says beat, and he also produces the sound of the beat. The phenomenon in section 18 proves that the persona poetica was witnessing, and the content of the poem, namely singing for the defeated, confirms the celebration of life from a poet that has not authentically experienced and conceptualized death. Beat drums accounts for a persona poetica that, once and for all, has fulfilled his task of singing the communal experience, of giving voice to dumb voices, and mending the American quilt. The experience of the war has turned everything that was excessively ethereal, abstract, and distant from true reality into something concrete, down to earth, but not as much narrow as it cannot account for a whole country. So this is what I think, this is like the turning point in Whitman's work. He now is truly able to become, to produce a literature of minorities, because the most personal autobiographical experience is now necessarily collective. So there is a persona that has witnessed many landscapes, has absorbed them, has conceived a political bound to mend the patches of America, and finally is able to truly speak for his country. Now, as a conclusion, whether it was a doom or an honor, Whitman lived in a moment of great convulsion in the American history. Nevertheless, he himself was a person who sought contact with the most magnificent and the most humble of human experience. As the fertile poet he was, these events did not pass unnoticed in his writings. Leaves of Grass is an account of all the experience. In this exposition, we revise how the joyful and celebrative voice of the persona poetica in Song of Myself becomes the thoughtful voice in Calamus, whose search for a political comrade is at the same time the search of Whitman for disillusionment comfort. And finally, how drum taps is the concretion of those quests that turn the persona poetica's voice louder to turn him actually in the great American bard.
So, any questions? No?
Just a technical one. What would be the difference between what you call the poetic person and the voice? Because at some point it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I think I pretty much equated like persona poetica with voice. Though at times I try to to emphasize aspects of the persona, like quests, for instance, and at times I try to emphasize aspects of the voice, for instance, as what I talked about in the loudness. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yeah, pretty much. Because I'm interested in the comparison that you made, because essentially some of what you said was something that I think, which is that the movement is precisely that it moves from talking about experience to actual experiencing.
Yeah.
Which is very much the sort of Zen myth about Whitman, actually. He moves toward this collectivist view of where everything and everything is us, and from thinking about experience, actually living.
Yeah.
And that came out very well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions? Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Maria. Ricardo.
Thank you.